Imagine a single rusty metal sphere just bobbing quietly in the ocean.
Yeah, a completely low-tech, decades-old piece of metal.
Right. And that one piece of metal actually has the power to freeze global trade, crash your retirement portfolio, and, force the world's most powerful tech billionaires to completely rewrite their business model.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Because we are constantly sold this idea that human progress is becoming weightless, right?
Oh, totally. We
Yeah.
talk about the cloud or artificial intelligence or the global market as if they exist in this, I don't know, this frictionless, invisible dimension just floating above our heads.
Right. And the vocabulary we use actually tricks us into ignoring reality.
Mm.
We assume that just because we tap a flat piece of glass to order goods or, generate an AI image, the mechanism behind it is basically magic.
But then you look at the actual state of the world, and that illusion of weightlessness just violently shatters.
Absolutely shatter.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are taking a close look at the Daily Tech Reader's 6 a.m. news brief from July 23, 2026. We are so glad you're here with us.
Glad to be here.
Our mission today is to cut through the massive volume of noise, between geopolitics, blockbuster tech earnings, and extreme weather to find the hidden threads connecting them.
And the most glaring thread in today's brief is the unavoidable physical cost of our systems.
Yeah.
Whether it's global shipping, digital infrastructure, or human institutions, everything is crashing into very real, very heavy physical constraints.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start with the global supply chain because the physical realities of war are immediately dictating global economics right now.
They really are.
Now, before we get into it, just to be completely transparent with you as we look at the raw intelligence updates from the Middle East today, we are simply laying out the facts as they are reported on the ground.
Exactly.
We are strictly here to impartially report on the updates involving the United States, Iran, and Houthi forces without taking any political stance or endorsing any viewpoints.
All right, our focus is solely on understanding the massive economic ripple effects these events are causing. It's the only way to understand why the global markets are reacting with such crazy volatility this morning.
Yeah, so according to the brief, the United States has completed a 12th consecutive night of military strikes against Iran.
12 nights.
Right, and there is no immediate sign of this ending. The human cost is incredibly severe. 18 American service members have reportedly been killed, with more than 500 wounded.
Just awful. And the financial scale is staggering, too.
It really is. The Pentagon estimates the conflict has cost about $37.5 billion so far. And get this, they are seeking an additional $87.6 billion from Congress just to sustain operations.
Wow. And in direct response to the U.S. stating they would retaliate against attacks on commercial shipping, Iran declared that the Strait of Hormuz closed to any vessels operating without its explicit coordination.
Which, wasn't just a political bluff.
Not at all.
An oil tanker actually caught fire after an explosion along what Iran described as a mined route near the Omani side of the strait.
Yeah, and 2 other tankers saw that and immediately turned back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And almost simultaneously, Houthi forces stated they struck 2 Saudi tankers near the Bab el-Mandeb Strait.
And the scale of that bottleneck just cannot be overstated. I mean, about 9 million barrels of oil pass through Bab el-Mandeb every single day.
9 million.
Right. And current estimates suggest roughly 4 million of those barrels are now exposed to disruption.
It's like if global trade is a cardiovascular system, Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb are the main arteries.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. And a sea mine acts like a massive blood clot. The system doesn't just stop, it tries to reroute the blood.
Right, so sending thousands of massive cargo ships, thousands of extra miles, all the way around the continent of Africa.
Exactly. That requires more fuel, more time, and drastically raises the blood pressure of the entire global economy. And we are seeing the fever spike right now.
Oh, big time.
Brent crude, which if you don't know is the global benchmark price for oil, is nearing $98 a barrel. U.S. gasoline is staying over $4 a gallon.
And because fuel and transportation costs dictate the price of almost everything else on your grocery store shelves, markets are now pricing in a Federal Reserve rate increase for this September.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. They have to try and cool down the economy to fight off this reviving inflation. The World Bank is even warning that a prolonged conflict here could drop global growth in 2026 down to approximately 1.3%.
That is a huge hit.
It is. What's fascinating here is the concept of physical persistence. We tend to focus on the immediate news of a missile strike or like a drone attack. Those are intermittent. But a sea mine fundamentally changes the nature of the conflict.
Because a mine doesn't care about politics.
Exactly.
It doesn't go away just because two diplomats shake hands and sign a ceasefire agreement.
No, the physical reality of the mine dictates the timeline, not the diplomatic reality. Even if a truce is called today, those suspected shipping lanes have to be meticulously surveyed.
Which takes forever.
Right. It requires specialized vessels, sonar, diving teams, working for weeks or months to clear the water before ordinary commercial traffic feels safe enough to return.
Wow.
So the shipping disruptions and the inflated costs of your daily goods are going to drastically outlast the political events that actually caused them.
And that reality is forcing the return of what they call scarcity pricing. People are paying a massive premium for oil, for capital, and for shipping space simply because the physical routes are compromised.
Yeah, the physical constraints are undeniable.
But that realization that we are bound by massive physical constraints is bleeding into an industry that usually prides itself on being, completely immune to physics.
Yes, big tech.
Right. Our entirely digital future is suddenly hitting a massive financial roadblock.
The transition happening in the technology sector right now requires a complete shift in how we value these companies.
And let me just read this. I am looking at Alphabet's Q2 earnings from the brief, and the numbers are astronomical.
They really are.
They reported revenue of $119.8 billion. Google Cloud revenue alone is up an astonishing 82% to $24.8 billion.
So the enterprise demand for AI is undeniably real.
It is. But hold on, I'm struggling with this math. Alphabet also reported a negative free cash flow of $5.9 billion. This is their first quarterly shortfall on that measure.
Yeah, it caught a lot of people off guard.
And they raised their expected 2026 capital spending to a range of $195 billion to $205 billion. Their stock fell more than 3% after hours.
Wait, isn't software supposed to have infinite profit margins?
Yeah, that was the old rule, yeah.
Like you write the code once and you sell it 1 billion times? How on earth are they burning billions of dollars in cash? It sounds like these tech giants are suddenly turning into heavy industry manufacturing companies.
Well, that is precisely what they are becoming, and it is a microtrend we call expensive validation.
Expensive validation.
Right. Free cash flow is the money a company actually has left over after paying for its operations and capital assets.
Right, the actual money in the bank. Exactly. So for a money printing machine like Google to suddenly go negative by nearly $6 billion means they are spending cash on physical assets faster than their software can bring it in.
That's insane.
To build an AI stack today, you aren't just paying a bunch of programmers to write code in a coffee shop. Alphabet's capital spending is going toward pouring millions of tons of concrete for massive data centers.
Literal concrete.
Literal concrete. It's going toward laying thousands of miles of networking cable, completely overhauling local power grids, and manufacturing highly specialized custom silicon chips.
So Alphabet's capital spending plan now exceeds the entire annual economic output of many countries.
Oh, absolutely. And Tesla is dealing with the exact same industrial reality.
Right, the brief mentioned them too.
Yeah, they reported quarterly revenue of $28.24 billion, but they missed profit expectations completely.
Ouch.
They expected 51 cents a share and only hit 33 cents. They burned $1.1 billion in cash. And their automotive margins declined to 16.3%, even though they delivered a record 480,000 vehicles.
Wow. So they are essentially using their car manufacturing revenue to fund physical AI.
Yes.
They are pouring all that cash into full self-driving, which now has, 1.5 million active subscriptions?
Right.
But they are also building the Cybercab, engineering custom chips, developing their Optimus humanoid robots, and deploying massive energy storage systems.
It's a huge pivot.
The brief mentions they just deployed 13.5 gigawatt hours of energy storage. Just to put that in perspective for you, a gigawatt hour is enough to power roughly 750,000 homes for an hour.
That's a lot of power.
Yeah. They aren't just building car batteries anymore. They are building utility-scale power grids.
It is the ultimate form of physical accountability. The digital ambition of these tech empires now relies entirely on mastering the physical world. Think about what this means if you are navigating your career or looking at the job market right now.
Okay, yeah.
The AI transition doesn't just need prompt engineers. It desperately requires workers who understand facilities management, heavy machinery, high-voltage electricity grids, liquid cooling systems, and physical security.
That makes total sense. And the brief makes a brilliant point about basic CRU. Create, read, update, delete.
Right, the foundational software functions.
Exactly. But now They are applying those concepts to the real world. We are moving toward AI agentic systems.
Which means AI that doesn't just chat with you, but takes independent action.
Right. It buys stocks, it moves physical robots, it controls power grids. Those systems need hard physical shutdown mechanisms and defined triggers, just like a piece of heavy industrial machinery on a factory floor.
Which is why commercial success in AI does not automatically produce financial simplicity. Consider Google Gemini.
Okay.
Alphabet has roughly 950 million monthly users on that platform, making it one of the largest consumer AI tools in existence. But their latest release, Gemini 3.6 Flash, wasn't about making the model vastly more intelligent.
Well.
No, the focus was entirely on lower operating costs and shorter response times. Running these enormous models is incredibly resource-intensive.
So they have to make it cheaper to run.
Exactly. Capability is advancing rapidly, but delivering reliable value to shareholders depends on managing budgets, cooling infrastructure, and finding measurable production-level uses.
So the tech industry is spending hundreds of billions of dollars to build the physical infrastructure for AI. But when you look at what the government is doing, they are investing billions so AI can actually help us master the physical world we live in.
Yeah, a totally different angle. The Trump administration just announced a $5 billion AI for Science initiative spanning 15 different federal agencies.
And they are utilizing Department of Energy supercomputers. These are machines that take up entire warehouses, way too massive for a normal university to operate.
Right.
And they are running staggering simulations. They are testing durable construction materials digitally to see how they handle heat, moisture, and repeated stress over decades.
It's incredible.
They are running incredibly complex traffic and bridge simulations before a single shovel hits the dirt. In healthcare, they are using AI to sort through millions of possible drug compounds to find the few dozen that are actually suitable for physical laboratory testing.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the underlying theme driving all this investment is model-to-reality verification.
Model-to-reality verification.
Right. AI is phenomenal at identifying promising directions quickly. It can simulate how a bridge might sway in the wind, or it can generate chemical candidates for new medicine that humans never would have thought of.
Sure.
But experiments, clinical trials, and physical outcomes are absolutely non-negotiable. You have to be able to distinguish a statistical pattern generated by a server farm from a genuine scientific discovery that actually works inside a human body, or, a bridge design that actually stands up to a hurricane.
Which brings us to the ultimate physical test, because nature is providing real-world verification right now.
It really is.
Tropical storm Bertha just made landfall in Louisiana, about 40 miles east of New Orleans.
Yeah.
The meteorological models predicted severe inland flooding, but the nuanced reality of the actual weather was that the heaviest rain stayed offshore.
Which is a huge relief for the city.
Totally. But it did bring storm surge and rough surf, and the tropical storm force winds extended far from the center, affecting a much broader area than just the predicted track line suggested.
And this is exactly why verifying those computer models against physical observations like satellite data, aircraft flying into the storm, ocean buoys, and ground radar is so crucial.
Yeah.
A 20-mile shift in reality changes the entire emergency response on the ground.
Well, and here's where it gets really interesting. The brief outlines this concept of combined vulnerability. It is never just one disaster happening in a vacuum.
No, the cascading failures are what make these physical events so incredibly dangerous.
Right. The brief points out that Bertha brought a highly unusual simultaneous combination of tropical weather warnings and extreme heat alerts to the New Orleans region.
At the exact same time.
Yes. And at the same time, Houston just hit its first 100-degree day of the year. Let's walk through what happens here. If a storm like Bertha knocks out the physical electricity grid, removing air conditioning at the exact moment humidity and temperature are at their highest, a manageable weather event instantly turns into a massive, deadly medical emergency.
Because the environment just traps the heat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The warm overnight temperatures mean the human body, the concrete buildings, and the power grid itself never get a chance to cool down and recover.
And you layer that with the other physical hazards tracked in today's brief. You have floodwaters in Louisiana that might contain raw sewage, chemical runoff, and sharp debris. And at the exact same time, massive wildfire smoke across portions of the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and Canada is severely degrading air quality.
Yeah, that smoke is brutal.
It's requiring people to use physical N95 respirators and indoor HEPA filtration just to breathe safely.
And then there's the long-term stuff, too.
Right up in Greenland, researchers are studying how melting glaciers are pouring fresh water into the ocean, directly impacting global ocean circulation patterns. Every single one of these is an interconnected physical system.
Heat, flooding, electricity outages, toxic water, smoke, medicine supply chains, all of these things combine to test the absolute breaking point of our physical resilience.
They do.
And that vulnerability, the realization that everything has a physical breaking point, doesn't just apply to hardware, hurricanes, and supply chains. It applies to human institutions, too.
Oh, absolutely.
When the adrenaline of a massive event fades, organizations are left holding a very real, very messy human hangover.
And institutional cleanup is very often more complicated and honestly more expensive than hosting the event itself.
Take the aftermath of the World Cup, which the brief highlights today. The celebration is over, the trophy has been lifted, and now we are shifting into the grim reality of dealing with player conduct, endless complaints about officiating, and massive European League scheduling conflicts.
Because employers, in this case, the massively wealthy European football clubs, do not separate a player's behavior during a national summer tournament from their broader professional identity.
No, of course not.
When a player acts out on the global stage, the clubs back home inherit the reputational costs. They have to get their legal teams to evaluate contractual conduct provisions.
Which takes a lot of time and money.
Right. They have to manage fractured team chemistry in the locker room, and they have to field angry calls from corporate sponsors.
The brief even notes that these clubs have to manage the welfare of the players' families. Public controversies, social media harassment, and fan outrage can deeply affect spouses and children who have absolutely nothing to do with the original event.
This raises an important question for any organization, whether you're a sports team or a Fortune 500 company. How do you pick up the pieces when the world stops watching?
Yeah, how do you handle the hangover?
For these European clubs, they often use loan moves or transfers as a quiet, backdoor way to diffuse tension. They ship a controversial player off to another country for a year to save face without enduring a prolonged public dispute.
Wow, just send them away.
Pretty much. And behind closed doors, they're also desperately seeking shorter, more predictable national team calendars. But achieving that requires navigating a minefield of cooperation among wealthy club owners, global broadcasters, and deeply entrenched supporter groups.
Meanwhile, in other areas of global entertainment, you have the 100 cricket tournament actively pushing to shorten match lengths, specifically to appease the rigid constraints of television broadcasting schedules.
Right, catering to the physical time slots.
Yeah. But then you look at Christopher Nolan's new film, The Odyssey, which just passed $264 million worldwide. It proves that large event media can still draw mass audiences for long runtimes if the physical and temporal commitment actually feels worth it to the viewer. So what does this all mean?
It means that every system, no matter how elevated, digital, or global it appears, eventually has to deal with the physical and human hangover of its operations.
From European football clubs quietly transferring players across borders to fix broken team chemistry, to the global economy desperately trying to reroute cargo ships around sea mines in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, to tech companies pouring billions into concrete and copper just to keep their AI models from melting down.
Yeah, all of it.
Beneath every invisible digital cloud, beneath every global headline, and beneath every cultural phenomenon, there is an absolute bedrock foundation of physical infrastructure, massive amounts of money, and unavoidable human friction.
The physical world always demands its toll. You cannot code your way out of a broken supply chain, you cannot digitize a strained electrical grid, and you certainly cannot negotiate with a hurricane.
Which brings us to the end of our journey today. We have covered a massive amount of ground, from the $87.6 billion the Pentagon is seeking for physical warfare, to Alphabet's $195 billion spending plan for concrete and cables, down to the N95 masks protecting the Midwest from wildfire smoke.
A lot of heavy physical reality.
Definitely. But before we sign off, we want to leave you with a thought to mull over. It builds on everything we've discussed today.
Let's hear it.
If our supposedly weightless digital AI future actually requires the electrical output of entire nations to function, Wait, scratch that. Let me rephrase. If our AI future demands the energy of entire countries, and if our global energy choke points are increasingly vulnerable to low-tech, persistent threats like rusty sea mines,
Yeah.
are the so-called tech wars of the next decade really going to be fought over software code and algorithms? Or are they going to be fought over physical copper, freshwater rights, and shipping lanes? Something to think about the next time you ask an AI to write an email for you. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. And as always, keep questioning the world around you.